أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا صلى الله عليه وسلم عبده ورسوله يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما قال سبحانه وتعالى في القرآن المجيد والفرقان الحميد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم كل المؤمنين يغضوا من أبصارهم ويحفظوا فروجهم ذلك أزكى لهم إن الله خبير بما يصنعون صدق الله العظيم وصدق على رسوله النبي الكريم قال رسول الله صلى الله تعالى عليه وسلم أوصيكم ونفسي بتقوى الله عز وجل في السر والإعلان أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وأصحابه وأزواجه وأتباعه وأوليائك وعلمائك وشهدائك وبارك وسلم صلى الله تعالى عليه وسلم. In Allah's name, the most merciful and compassionate. Allah Azza wa Jal has our deepest gratitude and devotion. We recognize His magnificence and turn to Him for guidance, sustenance, and forgiveness. We seek His protection from the evil of our actions, the evil within us, and the evil around us. When Allah guides someone, no power in the universe can lead them astray. And when Allah misleads one, no one can bring them back to the correct path through guidance. I bear witness that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the only deity worthy of worship, and I recognize Muhammad sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam as His devoted servant and messenger. An abundance of durood and salawat upon the best of creation, the crown of creation, the jewel of creation. Nabi Kareem Rahmatan lil Alameen, our master, Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam, his noble family, his blessed companions, and the honorable wives. I greet all elderly and youth, those present and those watching via social media, with the peace and blessings of Salamualaykum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. With the technological advancement of the 21st century, our lives have become much easier than before. However, something else that has become much easier along with it is sinning. With the internet and our smart devices, fitna is spreading faster and easier than before. And it is spreading to everyone, including our youngsters. They are probably affected by it the most. And because of this fitna, we are also sinning a lot more. And two ways we are sinning the most are the sins of the eyes and the ears. And this is what I want to focus on today. When it comes to the sins of the ears, there are so many different sins we can discuss. Eavesdropping, listening to ghibba, backbiting, listening to slandering, buhtan, and listening to lies, all while they are happening in front of you. These are all examples of some of the sins of the ears. And I discussed last week what one should do if this happens in front of you. To summarize what you should do if those sins of backbiting, slandering, and lying are happening in front of you is firstly to tell them to stop and show your disapproval and displeasure with the sin. After that, leave the space and try to stay away from those people or places where these sins might be happening. But of all these sins of the ears, the most dangerous, especially in this day and age, is what is called in the Quran the amusement of speech and the use of instruments of shaitan. What this means in simple terms is sinful music. There are three main problems with music that make music haram. The first thing we have to understand is where music comes from, where instrumental music leads to and where it came from. After the passing of Sayyidina Habil radiallahu ta'ala an, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent another son to Sayyidina Adam alayhi salam, a prophet, Sayyidina Sheet alayhi salam. Sayyidina Sheet separated his people from those who followed Qabil, who were the descendants of Qabil. And they were separated by valleys. The men on Qabil's side were not attractive, and the women were very attractive, while it was the opposite on the side of Sayyidina Sheet alayhi salam. Shaitan Mardud, Iblis, then went to the people of Qabil and started working as a blacksmith amongst them. He then amazed them when he created the first instrument, a wind instrument, a flute. And the sounds that came out of the flute left the people mesmerized. And following this, Shaitan, along with those people, made more instruments and started singing along with it, of them being a sort of a bugle. They loved it so much they started designating specific days and nights to have these parties with music and singing and dancing. All of the fitnas that we see today are rooted from back then. And eventually, even some of the people of Sayyidina Sheet alayhi salam started to hear this, and they started to listen and be mesmerized by the music, to the point that they were missing their religious duties because of listening to the music. However, Sayyidina Sheet alayhi salam never stopped and continued to propagate the deen and the sharia to them. Shaitan then invited some of those people of Sayyidina Sheet alayhi salam into the parties on Qabil's side. And those people saw the attractive women dancing and all the festivities along with the intoxicating music, and they joined in with the festivity. And eventually, due to the men from Sayyidina Sheet alayhi salam's side being very attractive, the women from Sayyidina Qabil's side, on their own accord, without being influenced by shaitan, started to be even more revealing of their beauty. And this mingling between the men and women created temptation and then led to zina. And following this, adultery became a common sin. So we understand from that whole waqia that the mesmerizing tunes of those instruments led to all of that sin, of which the most dangerous being adultery and fornication. And this leads to my second point on music. A lot of the music being listened to today discusses these haram acts specifically. The lyrics are usually about either love and fornication, or drugs and murder, or other sins. These lyrics can lead one to start wanting to do these things, or distort one's understanding on how these things are bad and why they are bad. Music can also lead you to commit other sins of the ear, such as backbiting and slandering, etc. Because a lot of this is what is going on in the music. It's crazy to see that young kids now know about all of these types of sin, all through music and internet. Before these kids can learn how to clean themselves properly, they are being exposed to these fitnas, especially music. And it is just not in the schools and in public. In a lot of our homes, parents are exposing their kids to this harmful, sinful music. So it is not just the children who are being exposed and influenced to commit sins by the music. It is the parents as well. And we can see that parents now are being more open to these things, allowing their children to listen to music, whether it's in school or at home, and even make music for certain people, without caring for the sharia. To the point some Muslim parents are putting their children in music classes or singing classes, instead of Quran classes or Tajweed classes. Astaghfirullah. The parents have forgotten the deen. How do you expect your children to be steadfast upon it when you're sending your children to music classes? Since you want to teach your children this music and allow them to be exposed to this fahasha, then don't expect them to read Quran and make dua for you when you enter your grave. Don't expect them to make isale sawab and dua maghfirah for you. Rather, expect them to sing songs over you and to rap and play instruments over your grave. This is what you taught them and allowed them to be exposed to. And then this is what they will continue to do even after you pass away. In these songs, people are committing all these sins and speaking about these sins. And if you are strict upon them, then your children will go behind your back to do these things. They will be sneaky and will no longer be comfortable with you. This is why you cannot let your children even be exposed to these things in the first place without having them being educated about it. And the final and arguably the most important point about the sin in music is that music is literally a form of intoxication. We all know that the hard intoxicants from drugs is haram, because one is not in their clear senses and is not adil, which takes them away from doing the tahaffuz of the Sharia for themselves and others and leads to destruction. When it comes to music, it releases different neurons in our brain, which can intoxicate us in a way. And it affects our mood and our behavior, similar to these hard drugs. Dopamine, serotonin, and cortisol. These are all examples of neurons and transmitters being released in our brain, for those who understand. Dopamine refers to the feel-good hormone. Listening to this music allows this hormone to be released and can lead us to be addicted to this hormone. And for those of us who don't know how addictions work, when one doesn't get what they are addicted to, the drug that they are addicted to, which is in this case is music, you see that they go through a lot of behavioral changes and mood swings. And their addiction spirals and spirals until the point where they cannot go anywhere without music, in this case. And we can see this today in youngsters. Wherever they are going, whether in their school or home, they have their headphones in and they are listening to music. They're addicted to the point where they cannot go anywhere. And the problem with this addiction is clear, as it easily can take one away from the deen and from abiding by the Sharia. Cortisol is the hormone that affects many things, but one major thing it affects is stress levels. And through music, this cortisol is unnatural. Your body will release this when the reason for stress is alleviated, whether it is an exam, an interview, family problems, financial problems. When you have stress, your body releases cortisol when the stress is gone. However, when you listen to music too much, your body unnaturally gets this cortisol and takes away your stress, even though the problem of stress is still there. This can lead to many problems, especially in younger individuals. It can lead to not understanding how to deal with stress and can lead one to spiral into many things, such as depression, lack of energy, and insomnia. And we see this in youngsters today. They are often complaining that they are tired, they're lacking energy, they are staying up all night, and sometimes even they say they are in depression. They say we cannot pray because we are in depression, we are mentally unstable. And these things are exactly what music is causing. It is causing them to be so tired and mentally distracted that they cannot even pray their salah and read the Quran and abide by the Sharia. And then we have the third one, serotonin, which does a whole lot of things. But one thing that it does, which is especially dangerous for everybody, especially for Muslim youth, however, is it influences our sexual desire. And it is no surprise that music, along with the lyrics, can influence one to go against the Sharia when it comes to laws of intimacy. It can also negatively affect the youth to the point that their marriages or their future marriages can get ruined and negatively affected. Other negative effects of music mentally include extreme mood swings. When one even slightly feels an emotion, whether it's anger or sadness, it is amplified through the music. Therefore, music can also create negative thoughts or influence one's mind unnaturally and harm them. All of these symptoms I just listed are the reasons as to why music in its entirety, especially modern music, is haram. This sin of the ear can lead to so much negativity and take them away from the deen so much without them even realizing. So it is very important to stay away from this sin of the ear. Now diverting to the second part, which was sins of the eyes. Again, there are many sins of the eyes that we can discuss, such as judgmental gazing and hasad, jealousy, along with the invasion of privacy and snooping. However, there is one sin of the eye, which is in no doubt the worst and the most dangerous of them all. And it is the zina of the eyes. The Prophet ﷺ explained, Al-aynani yazniyan. The eyes are where zina begins. The Prophet ﷺ also said, the wayward look to that which is haram is like a poisoned arrow from the arrows of Iblis that penetrates the heart. What we must understand is that the reason zina of the eyes is so dangerous is because one's eyes are connected to their soul. We all know that when a person passes away, we should hurry and close their eyes. This is because the soul keeps the same connection of vision through the eyes until these eyes are shut. This shows the deep connection between your eyes and your soul. So that the zina of the eyes, when one commits this zina of the eyes, it is bringing an injury to one's soul. Now when it comes to this zina, everybody knows the hukam. Lower your gaze. Surah An-Nur, ayat 30 to 31 clearly explain this. Command the Muslim men to keep their gaze low and protect their private organs. That is much purer for them. Indeed, Allah is aware of their deeds. And command the Muslim women to keep their gaze low and to protect their chastity and not to reveal their adornment except what is apparent. However, people always question, how is one supposed to look around? How is one supposed to keep lowering their gaze when this fitna is literally everywhere? Obviously, one cannot just stare at the ground everywhere. The explanation for this is pretty simple. The Prophet ﷺ said, do not follow one glance at a woman with another. Verily, you have the first one and not the second. This makes it pretty clear for both men and women. The first glance, which is accidental, is excusable. And the second then falls into zina of the eyes. Obviously, the sin of not lowering one's gaze is not equivalent to actual zina. However, the continuous performing of this zina of the eyes can take on the ruling of a major sin, in this case, zina. Nowadays, we have this soft eye. We should have this soft eye for everywhere we look. We should not stare and focus on everything we look at, whether it is men or women. Because in the modern times, the fitna are even more, and the actions of the people at the time of Lut alayhi salam are becoming more and more common as well. And when we are walking, we shouldn't be looking around aimlessly. We should be walking with purpose. Focus on where you want to go, where you are trying to get. Do not focus on the fitna around you. The best advice we can understand for the young women and men, along with older individuals who have this problem, is that one must achieve taqwa, God consciousness, piety, to be able to protect themselves, which I also discussed last week. We should work towards becoming more conscious that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching us at all times. And we should learn to become more conscious of the fitna around us. And in that way, we should practice keeping our gaze low. And we should keep practicing this until it becomes automatic. How long it takes to become automatic simply depends on how sincere you are and how God conscious you are. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from these sins of the eyes, ears, tongue, and all the other sins and acts which just displease Him and Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam. Ya Allah, we ask you to protect us from anything that would harm us. Ya Allah, we ask you to give aid to those Muslims who are in trouble in Gaza, in Palestine, in Sheikh Jarrah and Rafah. Ya Allah, ease their pain and suffering. Ya Allah, open your doors of mercy, sustenance and protection for them. Ya Allah, allow the besieged to be helped. Ya Allah, protect us from the adhab during the end of times. Ya Allah, bless us all with husn al-khatimah. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. Anything I have said in error is from me, and anything which you have benefited from is from Allah Azza wa Jal. JazakAllah for listening. Wa akhir dawaya alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalamualaykum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ya Allah, we can have the brothers go around for donations. We've had the Jummah donation program going on for quite a while now, and unfortunately it has not really gone that far. So again, we appeal for $10 at least, if you can, every Jumu'ah for our Jumu'ah donation program. Inshallah, we are looking to get a new masjid as well to branch off, because we do not have space. We have limited space here, and we have more musallis, especially in the first Jumu'ah, than we have space available. Unfortunately, we have to lock the door at the time of the khutbah because it is so full. So inshallah, with your pleasure, please donate as much as you can. We have a couple of events. Firstly, on the Saturday, August the 31st, we have Ursi ala Hazrat. Inshallah, Sheikh Amir will be speaking, Sheikh Muhammad will be doing tilawat, and we will have many Nat Khawan as well. This will be after Asr, which is at 6:25 Jama'at. So Saturday, August the 31st, everyone is invited. There will be niyaz after the event as well. Tomorrow, actually, we have the event for our madrasa students as well. So if you have children, rather, that want to learn the deen, or you want them to learn the deen, please admit them into madrasa, which is starting on September the 3rd, the same day most children's school is starting as well. You can admit them into madrasa, 5:30 to 7:30. We teach everything a child might need to know, which is tajweed, Quran, we start, as well as qaida if your children is on qaida. We have Qamar studies, which is Islamic studies, which are basic Islamic studies. And then for older children, teenagers, and going into adulthood, we have Alamiya as well. We have intermediate Alamiya as well. Everybody can admit their children for that. And for those who cannot come Monday to Friday, we have Sunday classes for adults and for children. Those of you who might want to brush up on their Quran or learn if they haven't learned, we have Sheikh Muhammad here. We're on Sunday classes to do Sunday school. You can learn Quran, Qaida, etc. with Sheikh Muhammad. Whether it is your children or yourself, you can admit on Sunday classes, inshallah. We have Saturday classes going on. Aqidah Tahawiyya. Right now, we don't have admissions for that, but this is just letting you know. We will have continuous admissions after for the new courses. We have fiqh courses and Aqidah courses as well. Right now, Aqidah Tahawiyya is going on. You can talk to Ustad Umar about the courses. Inshallah, on Saturday, September the 21st, is going to be our annual Milad un-Nabi. We'll have the julus outside, and we will have our inside program. We will have our Nath Khawan. We will have Niyaz, etc. as well going on. Everybody is invited for that. And leading up to it, we will have 12 days of Rabiul Awwal as we do every year. So everybody should keep an eye out for that. We will have the program running as well, inshallah. Salamualaykum.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الصلاة والسلام عليك يا رسول الله وعلى آلك وأصحابك يا سيدي يا حبيب الله صلى الله تعالى وسلم. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا